everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Jordan, and today I'm going to be answering some bookish questions. Alright, so today I'm going to be answering some questions about books and reading. Alright, so we got our questions, so let's jump into it. Question number 1. What's the first book you ever remember reading? So one of the first books that I ever remember reading as a kid was When Pigasso Met Mootise. Obviously, from the title, you can kind of guess it's about Picasso and Mootise, but in here, Picasso's a pig, Mootise is a cow, and this is all about like them kind of feuding over their art and eventually coming together and forming a really good friendship. Question number 2. Did someone read to you when you were a child? Yes, I remember my mom used to read to me and my sister every night before we went to bed. Who is your all-time favorite book character? Honestly, this is a tough one. I never really thought about it before, but if I had to pick, I would probably say definitely Remus Lupin and Sirius Black from the Harry Potter series. Question 4. Who is your favorite author of all time and your favorite book by them? I feel like I don't necessarily have a favorite author. There are a lot of authors that I do like, but if I had to name one of them, it would probably be Stephen King. I'm still working on getting through all of his books because he has written quite a number of them, but if I had to pick a favorite, I would say it would have to be Misery. This is one of the first books that I ever read by Stephen King, and it's funny because I actually picked this book to use for my senior research in college. Alright, question 5. Has a book ever changed your life? There isn't like one specific book that comes to mind. I feel that as a reader, all of the books that we read throughout our life change us in some way, shape, or form. So I would probably say that it would kind of just be an amalgamation of all the books that I've read up until now. Question 6. What genres do you love? I actually read a variety of different books, but some of the genres that are my favorites are definitely classics, horror, sci-fi, fantasy. Question 7. Are there any genres you dislike? I would say out of all the genres, I feel like contemporary is kind of my least favorite, especially like contemporary romance. I don't mind nonfiction, but I'm picky when it comes to the types of nonfiction books that I do read. Question 8. What author who is still living would you dearly love to meet? I would love to meet Stephen King. I actually took a picture in front of his house when I went on a trip to Maine, and that was like really cool. Question 9. Have you ever met a famous or semi-famous author face-to-face, and where? So I have actually met an author in person, and that is Caseen Gaines. And it's funny because he actually went to school with my cousin, so I've pretty much known him my entire life. I've run into him at different events and occasions. So he writes a lot about pop culture and history, and this book that I have right here inside Pee-wee's Playhouse was actually the first book that he ever wrote. But he's also written a number of other books about different movies, such as Christmas Story, Back to the Future, The Dark Crystal, and his most recent book that he's written is about Black artists on Broadway in the 1920s. I'll leave a link in the description to his website if you guys want to check him out. Question 10. Do you prefer paperbacks or ebooks? Why? I prefer paperbacks because reading on any type of screen for me I just feel like I can't take in the information, and it also really hurts my eyes, gives me a really bad headache. Question 11. Have you ever read a self-published book? I honestly don't think that I have. I did, however, recently pick up a copy of Autumncrow by Lon Chaney. He is also a booktuber. I will put a link in the description to his channel as well. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to reading this next month. Question 12. What book or series do you hope and pray will be turned into a movie or TV show one day? Alright, so this is a book that I just picked up this year, and it is Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. I feel like this book would make a really great movie or TV show. The writing in this is so cinematic, and I think the story would definitely lend itself well to film. Question 13. Do you think there are any movie adaptations out there that were actually better than the original? Alright, so one of my answers for this question would definitely be Lord of the Rings by J.R.R. Tolkien. I feel like the movies did such a good job of capturing the story, as well as cutting out a lot of the unnecessary description. Question 14. Has a book you like ever been turned into a movie or TV series that you hated the adaptation of? Ironically enough, we have The Hobbit for this one. Need I say more about this? Honestly, this definitely was a cash grab kind of situation, and we didn't need a trilogy out of this, just saying. Another adaptation I didn't really like was Ready Player One. There are so many references to pop culture in this book that when you're reading it, it's really cool, but seeing it in a movie, it's kind of just like, okay, it was there. Question 15. What's more important to you, prose or story? I don't really care how fancy your writing is. If you don't have a well-developed plot and your characters are weak, I'm probably not going to finish reading that book. I think story is definitely one of the more important things that I look for when I'm picking a book. Question 16. What attracts you to a book? The cover, blurb, recommendations from others. I feel like it's kind of a combination of all three. Usually I'm either looking at a cover that I like or a title that sounds interesting to me. Then I flip it over and read the little summary on the back, and if that's interesting as well, I'm probably more likely to pick that up. I don't necessarily go by the recommendations of others, just because I feel like I've been disappointed so many times by recommendations from other people that it's almost better if I'm going in blind. 17. Have you read any of the old classics? What did you think of them? As an English major, I can tell you right now, I've read plenty of classics in plenty of different genres and time periods. What did I think of them? There are definitely ones that I love, and there's definitely ones that I hate. There are also ones that I really thought I was gonna hate, but actually ended up loving. I feel like when it comes to classics, you've got to be interested in the story, because if you're not interested in the story, then what is even the point of reading it, just to say that you read it? Question 18. Has a book ever scared you or given you nightmares? I've actually never been scared by a book. I feel like movies scare me more than books. Question 19. Are there any books that are really popular but you dislike? Honestly, I don't know what the appeal is with this one. I also don't understand the appeal of this one either. Need I say more? Question 20. Are there any books that are considered terrible but are your secret pleasure? Okay, honestly, I didn't mind Twilight, but I also read it when it came out when I was in 5th grade, so rereading it now, I don't know if I would like it or not. Question 21. What's your favorite book cover? I have a lot of favorite covers, so I don't think I would be able to give a definitive answer, but one that has become a recent favorite of mine is Lon Chaney Speaks by Pat Dorian. I mean, just look at this. Look how beautiful that is. I love this cover so much, and I can't wait to get into this one. Question 22. Do you prefer old books or new ones? So I kind of interpreted this two different ways. Of course, I love the classics, and there are a lot of new books that I love as well. If we're talking about new books versus used books, I have plenty of both on my shelves, and I don't mind having used books as long as they are in good shape and they're readable. 23. What was your favorite book when you were a child? Oh my gosh, there are so many, but just to give a couple examples, Harry Potter's definitely on there. Goosebumps I loved as well, and probably Inkheart. Question 24. How many books do you read a month? Honestly, it depends on what my schedule is like and how many I can actually fit into a month. So far this year, my average has been about 5 or 6. So that's like a little bit over a book a week, which honestly, I don't mind. I'm pretty happy with that. Question 25. Would you like more time to read books? Obviously, who wouldn't want more time to read books? Question 26. Do you like to write reviews on Amazon or Goodreads? I don't typically write reviews, but I do rate my books on Goodreads. Question 27. In general, do you think books are better or worse now than they used to be? I wouldn't say that they're better or worse. I would say that there's just a lot more freedom on what we're able to read and what authors are able to write as opposed to years ago. There are plenty of older books that are bad. There are plenty of newer books that are bad. I think there's just a little bit more freedom to write about subjects that would have been considered taboo or scandalous. Question 28. Where do you usually discover new books? I usually tend to look online. If I'm in an actual bookstore, I like to browse and like look in the different sections and look that way. But yeah, I would say definitely the majority of the time I'm either looking at the bookstore websites online or scrolling through Instagram. Question 29. Have you ever joined a book club? Kind of. I used to do summer reading when I was a kid, and one year I did join like the teen book club. It wasn't necessarily a book club, but it's kind of the same thing. Question 30. Where do you like to read? I usually read in my bed or on the couch, and if the weather's nice, I like to read out on my deck. Question 31. What deceased author would you have liked to meet? Honestly, I don't know. I don't know, maybe Edgar Allan Poe. He seemed like an interesting dude, so yeah, probably him. Question 32. Think about your favorite genre. To you, which author is the master of that genre? Because I read such a wide range of genres, I don't necessarily have a favorite, but I would say that Stephen King is definitely the master of horror and suspense. Question 33. Do you judge a book by its cover? Would a shoddy cover put you off? I try to not judge a book by its cover too much, but I feel like we do inadvertently in some ways. There are plenty of instances where I have hated the cover but absolutely loved the book. I feel like this happens a lot with classics too. They usually have not the best covers, so I definitely have to go more by the story itself. Question 34. Do certain tropes attract you? For example, orphans, love triangles, or anti-heroes. I feel like I do like when we get a story from either the villain's perspective or like an anti-hero. I've also been really into enemies to lovers lately. I know that's like a big thing on Book Talk as well. I wouldn't necessarily say that I go out looking for these tropes specifically. It's just if they happen to be in there, then it's fine with me. Question 35. Are there any books you haven't been able to finish? Why not? Okay, so I have two answers for this one, and I feel like they're both gonna be controversial. But one of them is Normal People by Sally Rooney. For whatever reason, I was just so bored with this book. I got about halfway through before I finally decided to DNF it. And the second one is The Night Circus. And for whatever reason, I just can't seem to get past that 100-page mark. I don't know if it's me, if I'm not reading it at the right time, or if I just don't like the way the author writes. But I don't know, I feel like I gotta give it a second chance because it sounds like something that I'd really be interested in. Question 36. What are some of your favorite quotes or scenes from a book? Again, too many to name them all in one video, but one that comes to mind a lot is a quote from Wuthering Heights, and it's, "Whatever our souls are made of, his and mine are the same." Question 37. Did you read books in school? Can you remember which ones? I actually do remember a lot of the books that we read in school, and a lot of them I actually did end up liking a lot. Question 38. Are there any books you could read over and over again and never get bored of? Alright, so for this one, I gotta go with A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. I read it every Christmas. I absolutely love this story in every adaptation and iteration that it comes in. And this edition especially has the most beautiful illustrations. Like, just look at that. So yeah, this is definitely a staple that I read every year. Question 39. What's the last book you read? Alright, so this month I'm doing my Harry Potter rereadathon, and the last book that I read was Prisoner of Azkaban. I just finished this one last night. Question 40. What's the last book you bought? Did you buy it online or at a store, ebook, or paperback? Alright, so the last book that I bought was A Dance with the Fae Prince. This is part of the Married to Magic series, which is a series of standalone fantasy novels set within the same universe. I picked this up from Amazon, and as you can see, it is a paperback. Question 41. Do you like to display your books on a bookshelf or keep them in a virtual library? Question 42. Do you prefer flash fiction, short stories, novellas, or novels? I don't think I've ever read any flash fiction, but as far as the other ones go, I like all of them. I usually tend to read more novels, but I definitely don't mind short stories or novellas. Question 43. What book can you recommend to me? Alright, so that would be Jackaby by William Ritter. I finally got to this one this year, and oh my gosh, this is probably one of my new favorite series now. I would say this is like a mashup of Sherlock Holmes and Supernatural. I mean, it literally says on the cover, Sherlock Holmes crossed with Buffy the Vampire Slayer, so if you're into that, I would definitely pick this one up. Question 44. When did you last visit a library? Honestly, it's been way too long, and I kind of need to go again. Question 45. Have you ever had a crush on a book character? Oh yeah, I've had plenty of crushes on book characters, but the first one that comes to mind is definitely Jamie Fraser from Outlander. Question 46. Has a book ever made you laugh out loud? I don't think there's any particular book that has. There have definitely been one-liners in books that I have genuinely laughed at, but none that I can think of offhand. Question 47. Has a book ever made you cry? Yes, a book has made me cry, and it was this one. I was not warned ahead of time that this was going to be a sad book, but I quickly figured that one out for myself. Question 48. Are you generally good at guessing twists and being able to see what's coming? Have any stories genuinely shocked you? I mean, I would like to say that I'm good at guessing what's coming, but that's not always the case. And as far as any stories shocking me, it would definitely have to be the ending of The Picture of Dorian Gray. Did not see this one coming at all. Question 49. What's your favorite drink or snack to have beside you while you're reading? I don't snack while I'm reading, but I definitely need a good mug of tea beside me. And the last one, question 50. What book will you read next? Since I just finished The Prisoner of Azkaban, the next one on my list is Goblet of Fire, and she is a chunker. Definitely going to be following along with the audiobook for this one. Alright, and that's it. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure you comment, like, subscribe, and share, and I'll see you in the next one.